At the end of the month, 50 people with developmental disabilities will be out of a job. For the past 35 years, a program at Library and Archives Canada employed persons with disabilities in disposal of government documents. Library and Archives is discontinuing the program to narrow its focus to archiving and collecting. To get a better sense of what the Ottawa job market looks like for this group of people, I'm joined in studio by representatives from two organizations that provide support for people with developmental disabilities. Keenan Weller is from Live, Work, Play, works to integrate people with disabilities into the community. Hi again, Keenan. And Brian Tardif from Citizen Advocates, an organization that advocates on behalf of people with disabilities. Hi, Brian.
Good day.
So, Keenan, 50 people losing their positions at Library and Archives Canada. What's the likelihood they'll be able to find other jobs soon?
Well, I think it's obviously very unfortunate, 50 people all at once entering the labor market and apparently without much of a plan in place for a transition that they're facing. I think with time and planning, opportunities obviously be a lot better. So it's going to take time because someone will have to get to know these individuals and their talents and strengths and match them with a local employer where that's a good fit, and that's not an overnight process.
When you say a plan, what would you have wanted to see?
Get to know the individuals, their experience, their interests, which skills have they applied in the job that they have, that they enjoy. What we would do for anyone on a career path. These people happen to have an intellectual disability, but you would get to know them the same way you would any job seeker and then try to find the right fit.
We have a statement from Pierre Poilievre, the regional minister and minister for employment and social development, who says, I am personally championing the goal of their goal of continuing to work in the federal government. As soon as I learned of this, I spoke with John Bayard, the Prime Minister's office, the executive director of the program, Dave Ferguson, and my deputy minister to form a plan to save these jobs. We have an immediate solution and a plan of action. I can confirm the current contract will be extended until May 1st, giving us time to find a long-lasting solution within the government for these great people. I'll use this time to find out the needs of all departments that these great workers would be well suited to do. The goal will be to secure the same jobs or find very similar ones for them.
Saw those tweets. I responded. I also thought maybe it's a great opportunity to look at those 50 individuals and what career interests they might have that might be outside of this program, and maybe there's other futures for them. That's a great opportunity. It's great that the federal government has committed to being involved in the solution.
I'll come back to that in a moment, because I think that is one of the things that people are talking about today as well, the kinds of jobs that this group of people are actually doing. Brian, when you heard this story, what did you think the chances were for the 50 individuals searching for work right now in Ottawa?
Well, I mean, I would agree with Keenan that, in fact, there is opportunities, there could be opportunities out there, but there aren't a lot of jobs for people with disabilities. And, certainly from the perspective that we have and the stories that we hear from people is that there are challenges finding jobs, keeping jobs. And even if they have jobs, there are real challenges in terms of how they're actually integrated and welcomed into those jobs. So, it's great that the minister has taken an interest in this. It's unfortunate that it had to take this kind of a crisis for that to happen, because as I understand it, this has been something that people have been trying to work through for the last 6 months or more. And so why is it that all of a sudden now there's a crisis and there's an interest? So I think that's a question that needs to be asked.
When you talk about the challenge of, let's start with the challenge of finding the jobs that are out there, what kinds of challenges are we talking about, and what could be in place to ensure that those same challenges don't exist?
I mean, I'll give you a perfect example, a recent example of somebody that we've worked with who actually was looking for a job, wanted to work at a particular Walmart, and was offered a job. Lives in the south end of Ottawa, so Albion Road area. Wanted to work at a store close to where he lives. This is a person with a developmental disability, and was offered a job at a Walmart in Bayshore, in the Bayshore area. So this guy has to take 3 buses to go to work every day, spend an hour and a half there and an hour and a half back. So, I mean, that's the kind of challenge that people have. Mm-hmm. So they want to work. They want to be involved in something meaningful and something valued. But those opportunities And there is work that needs to be done, absolutely, with employers around looking at what are the capacities and what are the contributions that this very group of people can make.
In that situation, though, I mean, if that is where the job exists, right, if it's at a location that is unfortunately not where the individual with a developmental disability lives nearby, what can be done in that situation? Because I'm sure there are people listening saying, but that's where the opening was.
Right. So you look at, so what, if you're really planning with this person, one of the important things was that he have a job that's easily accessible to him in his community. Those were some of the things that were important to him. Mm-hmm. And so that's what you spend your time working on.
And when you say what you spend your time working on, who is it?
People that are doing the planning, people that are helping, people with disabilities find jobs, place them in jobs. Those are the things that you have to pay attention to, is because in the end, if you place somebody where they don't want to be, it's not going to be successful. Mm-hmm. And so who have you really helped here?
Keenan, I mean, because you made mention of a plan earlier, are there problems with the way the planning is happening in Ottawa?
I think it's done very differently. There's a number of different agencies from different perspectives that provide employment supports. So our agency is relatively small, but we currently support about 50 people with intellectual disabilities who have paid employment in Ottawa. We've had wonderful experiences with employers. It's a big city. You have to spend a lot of time knocking on doors and finding those with the right attitudes. It could be a big company like TD Bank that has a very dedicated to the whole idea of inclusive, or it could be a small employer that's never thought of it and is just open to being creative.
I want to go back to your earlier point, though, because these people were being paid a fraction of minimum wage, $1.15 an hour. The program with Library and Archives has been in place 35 years. The compensation is supposedly an honorarium rather than a wage, I should say. Many are sad to see the program go. Some questioning how paying people that kind of wage was allowed. Right. Keenan, how do we end up with this?
So we're talking about the 1970s, at a time when a lot of these individuals would have been in an institution off in the countryside, like Rideau Regional, which closed finally in 2009. And so coming into the city to be in an activity center and do work-like activity was a huge improvement from spending your entire day in a remote facility. The challenge is evolving from there over the last 30 to 40 years is a little bit slow, and I think our sector as a whole is a wake-up call today, because the public is learning about some of these issues for the first time and asking these questions. What's going on? What do you mean $1 an hour? And they're complicated questions, and frankly, I think it's embarrassing to our sector, and we have to do a lot better.
And the kind of work that they're doing in this situation, what went through your mind when when people are talking about the fact that this obviously, and there are some people who would welcome this work as well. I'm claiming that, but you had concerns about the type of job that is being highlighted here.
I think the concern I have is just that it might be good for some of these folks to have it put to them that there might be other opportunities. It's difficult. I think some of them have been working for decades in the paper sorting, and so is there anything else you've ever thought of that you might like to try? I think 26 years is a long time for anyone in the same career, and it might be nice for them to take this opportunity, if they're going to, especially if they're going to get help with the transition, and say, well, let's not just say, let's try and replicate what's happening to you right now. Is there anything else you've ever thought of doing, and what are the opportunities? The federal government is a big place, so maybe we could really open this up.
Brian, what would you like to see happen in that, given what Keenan's saying?
Well, I very much agree. I mean, this is an opportunity for people as well. And so, even though somebody's been doing this for 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 years, doesn't mean that they don't have capacities to actually take what they've learned and apply it elsewhere in a different environment. And so, we want to look at, that's where planning comes in, and listening to what people, so again, it's looking at what are their strengths, what are their capacities and assets, and how can you transfer that into another environment.